I'm Arlette Tinsley, and I work at the Human Rights Commission. I've been working here about 12 years. It's a government agency that enforces a local human rights law, a civil rights law. So we take cases in housing, employment, credit, public accommodation, education. I grew up all over the United States, but a lot of times spent in California in the Southwest. And in those areas, diversity is already being talked about in different terms because what was once the minority is now the majority. So we have to deal with diversity in order to be economically viable. This community will not grow and prosper unless we are a welcoming community. Welcoming community factors really grow the economy because the growth is coming from small to medium-sized businesses, startups. And people who are talented and creative, whether that's software development or life sciences, engineering, people that are starting up little tiny companies, they look for a place they want to live. And they look for a place that is welcoming to new cultures and creative ideas. All of us are going to prosper if we welcome diversity. The reason we have to worry about economic growth is some people just want things to stay the way they are. The choice is not stay the way they are or grow. The choice is die or grow. And we have communities in Indiana that are literally dying. Their tax base is shrinking, their population shrinks by 10 or 15% in 1 year. Those communities can literally die. And that's what we see. And so if you don't figure out a way to grow and welcome new ideas, it's really not about staying the same. It's about dying, because we are not replacing the population in the United States. Most women born in the U.S., the average birth rate is 2.1%. That doesn't replace the population. So basically, we are going to become a more diverse community or we're going to die, slowly but surely. So we have to figure out a way to welcome new entrepreneurs that are from the minority population, the immigrant population. A lot of people, when I make presentations, want things to stay the same. They don't want other languages spoken in the school. They don't want the population to change. They don't want things to change. I don't know, there is no way to do that. Diversity just is. You either grow and welcome diversity or you die as a community. The most recent study of the shifting demographics in the U.S. shows us that 1 in 4 counties has a population that is over 50% minority in the ages under 20. So basically, the minority has become the majority in 25% of the counties in the U.S. In 1 out of 10 counties, 10%, the population is already, even all age groups, even older adults over 20, the population is already the minority is the majority. Because if you look at the national trend, we're even going to have to change the language we use. What do you call people when the minority is the majority? It's changed, and that's the way it is. The minority concept means that everything's going to be turned on its head from a civil rights community perspective. I get an increasing number of cases where a Caucasian person alleges that a minority person is harassing them in the workplace. The laws work both ways. So when we talk about diversity, we're not talking about a black and white issue anymore. We have to, I think, raise the bar on our understanding, our specific understanding of other cultures. We are about to experience a change demographically with regard to our aging population that really this country has never experienced before. Luckily, we hopefully will be able to learn from Europe, who is experiencing it at a much faster pace than we are. So next time you watch TV, watch the ads. Look at how a lot of the people in the ads for vitamins and what drugs are advertised on TV. Everything's changing. And the employers that are going to prosper are the ones that understand the new aspects of the aging baby boomer population. They do not want to retire and stay at home. So companies like Lowe's, Starbucks, that are figuring out ways to employ people part-time or employ people who want to be snowbirds, who want to work part of the year in the Midwest where their families are and part of their year in Florida. Employers that are welcoming to the aging population will really be able to capitalize on their focus and talent. The research shows that they're absent less, that they work harder, and that this is a population that companies really need to figure out how to utilize to maximize their economic profit. Indiana, specifically, between the year 1990 and 2000, the census showed a 428% increase in same-sex households. Now, is that because everyone suddenly became gay? No. It is because the gay population was no longer choosing to move to major metropolitan areas like Chicago, New York. In my governing magazine, which I can promise you is not an edgy publication, they had an article called Heather Has Two Mommies and She Lives in the Burbs. And what's happening is that when companies locally, that might be Walmart, the largest private employer in the U.S., Cummins, the local hospital, when they begin to offer same-sex benefits to gay couples, what happens is that there's no real reason, and the communities becomes more welcoming to gay couples. There's no real reason for them to move to a major metropolitan area. So states like Indiana are seeing a huge growth in same-sex couples who are living and working right here where they grew up. And so that's a huge change, and it changes the fact that small to medium-sized businesses are going to need to respond to the fact that they have openly gay workers in their employ. Increasing religious diversity is really interesting, and it hits employers both with regard to their employees, but also as a matter of public accommodation, customers coming in the door and the services and goods that they sell and how they go about doing those things. The most recent research shows that just in the last 5 years, religious diversity has dramatically changed in the U.S. So about 5 years ago, 86% of the population identified themselves as Christian. 5 years later, only 77% of the population identifies themselves as Christian. And the biggest growth, if you look at growth, is really people identifying themselves as either nothing or spiritual but not religious. So what you see happening are some culture wars where employers or companies will say, let's call this a winter festival instead of a Christmas festival. And then some people who are Christian protest. Or let's say Happy Holidays, let's not say Merry Christmas when people come through the doors of the store. And so there's cultural aspects to this. People have protection for their religious customs and worship. They have the right not to be discriminated against because they are Christian. But you also have employers that have a right to create sort of religious neutral terminology in the workplace that does not actively discriminate against employers. It used to be that many cities were just company towns, one major large employer, and the economic strength of that community rose and fell with that company. What we know from research done by Richard Florida and other economists